so much fun to write the script together. It was a lot of work, but it was effortless in the best way. It didn't involve, there was only one time I remember that I wanted something in the movie, and he said he didn't think that we had room for it.
Oh yeah, what was it?
There's a section that takes place in Sacramento when she goes home.
Yeah.
And originally I had written a much longer section, and it would have required filming it differently, but it was just a bigger section and with more characters. And he said, I don't think it belongs in the movie actually, and I was upset about it, but then I realized he was right. And so we cut it down to be very short, but very like a concentrated version of what the longer section was. So I got some of it in it, but mostly we just really saw the film the same way.
I know when to go out. I know when to stay in.
Yes, I certainly used a lot of my own life, and Noah used a lot of his life in this movie, but I would say most of it's made up. It's a combination, and it's hard to actually determine after the fact what's from life and what's made up, because it's like making a cake. You don't know where the eggs are anymore. They're just in there somewhere. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Frances certainly represents everything I have as a writer and as an actor. I really this is the best, most complete effort I've ever made, and I feel very proud of it, but it's also not me, but it's the best of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think of them as just utterly, totally different. I think Florence is a really depressed character who can't stand up for herself. She can't fight for what she wants. She has trouble asserting herself. I think she's lonely. She literally feels like a soft character to me. She moves slowly, she talks slowly, and Frances moves so fast. She's literally running the whole movie, and she's all angles, and she's all ambition, and she's all want. Frances is all want, and I think to me they just feel like totally different. The only similarities they really share is that they were both played by me. Well, I think it's not a traditional coming of age story, because I think it's too late in a way.
Yeah.
She's a little past it, but I think it's something that you do so many times in your life, is shed the idea of who you thought you were going to be and accept who you are and what's actually happening. And I think that's a really hard thing to do, and I think you have to do it at many different points in your life. So I think this is Frances, this is her first time as a real adult doing it. I think she's a little late, but in another way I think she's right on schedule. I think she's great. I think she's gonna figure it out somehow. And I don't imagine, like, once the movie ends, that's really where the movie ends for me. I don't think about the character really beyond that. But I think the implication that we were trying to leave the audience with is that she's not all the way there, but she's gonna get there. Eventually she's gonna be like one of those people at the dinner party. Yes, there's a million things I would like to do, but more writing and more acting. I'm sorry to be so vague about it, but I try not to. I always mess this up, but I try not to talk too much about projects before there in the world yet, because you don't want to jinx them, and you also don't want
That's
to
true.
run your mouth about something that's not even real yet.
But you would like it to cooperate with Mr. Baumbach in the future again.
Yeah, I mean, I loved writing with him. I hope we write again together.
I mean, I think it's equally personal. You know, I think it's as personal as any of the movies I've made. I mean, Squid and Oil was a particular thing because I was using some autobiographical elements of my childhood, so, you know, sort of, I guess, I think for that project, it allowed me to fictionalize more effectively by using sort of the base of like living in Brooklyn, you know, having a brother, you know, parents who divorced, you know, that kind of thing. But that movie was, you know, a fictional story, and I think, you know, while Frances is obviously a more obviously fictional story, I think it has autobiography and other elements kind of hidden in it that, you know, or maybe would not hidden to me, but might be hidden to somebody else in a way. But, you know, it's very much a kind of, I think, true collaboration between Greta and me. Well, obviously black and white is not the norm, so and it's not seen as commercial just because I guess the world likes color. But so if you make a movie in black and white, you're definitely, you have to know on some level you're going against the grain, even if that's not your intention. For me, it was really a selfish decision. I wanted to make, I'd been wanting for a while to make a movie in black and white, and this felt like the right movie to do that. And I've since, once I've started doing interviews for the movie, had to kind of come up with reasons why I chose it, but it was largely intuitive. I always sort of saw the story in black and white. You know, obviously everybody's on a different schedule, and some people take longer than Frances, some people, you know, maybe, you know, right out of college or in their early 20s sort of seem to find their way quicker. I think the essential journey that Frances takes, we all not only have to take in our 20s, but I think we all kind of continue to take throughout our lives in different aspects. I mean, you know, this idea of having to let go of things in order to move forward, you know, and often, you know, I think in your 20s, the things that you're letting go of sometimes feel like your own identity. You know, it's, you know, for Frances, she sees herself as a dancer. You know, when the teacher kind of even suggests to her that earlier in the movie, that she take a desk job and she, you know, she could choreograph. Frances is so insulted. It's like it's like a real, it's like telling her she's not who she thinks she is, and she's not ready to hear that. And I think, who is, you know? I mean, we all kind of come into adulthood with ideas of what adulthood will be, what it will be for us, who we are, who we want to be. I mean, all of these things. And the process of growing up is you know, a big part of it is compromise. And it doesn't matter even if everything happens the way you kind of want it. The most successful people, they're compromising every day. And I think in some ways with Frances, the movie is about, you know, or maybe the approach that we took to it. It was almost the sort of romanticism of practicality, you know, that it doesn't have to be unromantic, you know, to acknowledge, you know, sort of difficult truths about yourself. Well, it's hard to give advice to phantom people. I mean, because obviously every person has their own journey, as Francis, the movie tells you, and you know, my story is different than colleagues of mine's stories, you know, and everybody kind of has their own way, and also everybody makes different kinds of movies. So all this is to say, I mean, I think my general advice is just go do it and make it, and don't wait for permission, you know. That might be harder if you're writing a $200 million science fiction movie or a superhero movie or something like that, but probably that shouldn't be your first film anyway. I think technology, as this camera you're filming me on it attests to, technology has gotten so good and the cameras are so sophisticated now that you can do it. You can just go and make a movie, you know, in a way that you couldn't. And I think it's one thing, you know, I suppose I'm as sad as anybody that celluloid film is going away, but I do think the real opportunity of digital is that it can democratize, in a way, filmmaking. And so that's my general advice. Yeah, well, I'm making a movie in the fall, Ben Stiller again, and we're shooting in New York.
Okay, well, we're looking forward.
Thank you.
Excellent.